Okay, I know we're making food because every other teacher's giving us a video project, but why is there a green cupcake?
The green cupcake represents King Arthur. That's why there's a crown on top of it.
Okay, that makes sense. But why is it green?
It's green because in the first scene, King Arthur and Merlin are in the woods. Okay, so King Arthur is riding in the woods thinking about what the wizard Merlin told him earlier. Suddenly, Merlin appears right in front of him. Merlin says he comes to bid Arthur farewell. Merlin warns King Arthur to take good care of the sword Excalibur and to beware of the evil woman who wants to steal the sword. The woman with the others will bring Arthur to Avalon. Merlin says that Lady Nimue is going to try to kill him. Arthur asks if Merlin can escape by using magic, and Merlin says no, it's fate, and that Arthur must show his worth and stand alone. Merlin then went into deeper parts of the woods following the Lady Nimue. They finally reached the land of Gwynedd, where a man named Pat was king. They spent the night there to rest. Before they left the next day, Merlin talked to Pat's wife, Elaine. Merlin saw Lancelot, the king and queen's son, blessed him, and told him to ride to the court of King Arthur before the next feast of Pentecost, so he can be made a knight. This was Merlin's last wish before he dies. Merlin left King Pant, Queen Elaine, and Lancelot, and he went into the hills of North Wales. Nimue sang weird songs and wonderful enchantment to Merlin. Merlin and Nimue encountered a fair white hawthorn covered in flowers. She sang to them and wove her magic around them. Merlin slept and woke in a tower, saying that Lady has taken all his magic and he can't leave the tower. Nimue said that he has to go forth because King Arthur is in danger, and since Merlin can no longer help, Nimue had to. Morgana Le Fay has King Arthur entrapped with her wicked spells. Merlin started walking in his sleep. He went down a narrow stairway, and he went down into a dark stone room beneath a rock. He then fell asleep on the rock. Nimue left Merlin to rest in her tomb, and she went toward Camelot. Merlin lies in his tomb until the day of his awakening, which is unknown.
While that happened, Arthur was hunting in the woods with Sir Urience, his half-sister's husband, and Sir Accolon. They went so far into the forest that they ended up getting lost. The horses were so tired that they just collapsed underneath them. They started to look around and eventually came upon the ocean.
Wait, if Arthur isn't in the woods anymore, then why is he still green frosting?
Because if we change the colors, it'd be way too confusing.
They saw a small ship that was close to the shore. There wasn't anyone on the ship, but they still for some reason felt like they should go on it. So despite it not being their boat and having a very eerie feel to it, they still went on the ship for the sake of adventure. As they got on the boat, they saw all the rich furnishings and the rare silk drapes. It was nighttime at this point, so the torches appeared along the bulwarks to light the deck. The ship started to move, and 20 damsels came out of nowhere and gave them meat and wine. There was this nice music in the background and a strange scent of flowers. After Arthur and his two friends relaxed on the deck, they were led to individual rooms that were prepared for them. They were all so tired from hunting all day long that they just kind of went along with it, and they had the best sleep of their lives. The next day, Urience woke up in Camelot next to his wife Morgana Le Fay. It was a surprise to him because he made a 2-day journey in one night. When Morgana smiled at him, she had an evil look in her eyes. King Arthur woke up in a very different way. He was in a prison under some castle with the groans of 20 knights in the background. Arthur asked who they were. The knights said that they were kept prisoner here, and there are some of them who have been there for as long as 8 years. Arthur asked them why. The knights said that the owner of the castle was a bad dude who took the place from his brother. He also takes everyone who steps onto his property prisoner. It's like the ultimate version of kids stay off my lawn. As they were talking, some girl comes for Arthur. The girl comes to get Arthur up and tells him that he has to win his freedom by fighting in a battle. If he wins, then he's free and he gets to be king of all the lands. As you can probably guess, Arthur, being a man and having a constant need to fight, agreed to it. What was really awkward about all of this was that the girl wasn't only the daughter of the man holding them captive, but she was also one of the girls who was on the ship the night before. The other guy that was with Arthur before he was kidnapped, Accolon, woke up in a courtyard on the edge of a well. For some reason, he was the only one who thought of his other two friends as soon as he woke up. He was also the only one who realized that the girls on the ship who tried to woo them were really just the ones messing with them. Then, a dwarf came out of nowhere and said that Morgana Le Fay wanted him to fight a mysterious knight. The dwarf went on to tell him that his friend Euryance was dying and gave him the sword Excalibur. He also told him that if he did this for Morgana, he could be her next husband. Accolon put together that Morgana was the one behind all of the tricks so that she can have him fight the mysterious knight. The dwarf gave him good luck. And for some reason, this entire conversation still took place by the well, where Accolon woke up and could have died at any moment. Then they walked to the castle, and Sir Outlake was waiting with his 6 squires. They gave him food and sent him off to fight some dude that he'd never met before.
Meanwhile, 6 squires of Sir Damus led Arthur to their master's castle and gave him food and drink and armed him as well as led him out of the gate. As Arthur rode from the castle, a damsel came to him and said that she was sent by Morgana Le Fay to bring him his sword Excalibur and the scabbard. King Arthur thanked the damsel and rode away into the battle with the lighter heart. The 2 knights, Arthur and Accolon, met together in the green meadow, neither knowing the other. They jousted with their spears first, then they drew their swords and went eagerly into battle. Accolon wounded Arthur badly so that his blood dyed the whole meadow, but Accolon barely bled at all, although Arthur has wounded him a couple times. When Arthur saw his blood on the meadow, he felt that there had been a treason and the black magic was used to change the swords. He became more certain that Accolon had the true Excalibur. They kept fighting, but Arthur lost so much blood that it was a surprise that he still stood. At last the 2 of them rested. Accolon taunted Arthur, so Arthur, wild with rage and pain, struck Accolon so hard that Accolon's helmet fell off. But when Arthur's sword broke into pieces. Accolon told Arthur to surrender, but he wouldn't. They were up and fighting again. And then Lady Nimue, who was apparently standing in the crowd watching, used magic, and the swords fell to Arthur's side, which he then picked up. And then she flung Accolon's sword point down into the ground. As Arthur was about to slay Accolon, he asked him where Accolon was from and who gave him the sword. Accolon replied and told Arthur that he got it from Queen Morgana Le Fay. He promised to fight, and the reason she gave him the sword was to kill Arthur. She also told him that her husband was dead and that Accolon should be king. Arthur told Accolon that he himself was king, but Accolon did not know this. Arthur forgave Accolon and said that he would send Morgana Le Fay from his court if she kills any man. Then King Arthur made peace with Sir Outlake and Sir Damus, and when he had done this, their squires carried him, and Accolon and Lady Nimue tended to them. Sir Accolon died of his wounds that night, but Arthur recovered slowly.
Meanwhile, Morgana Le Fay thought Arthur was dead and continued to Camelot with her wicked plans. On the day of the battle, she found her husband, King Euryance, asleep on the couch. She asked one of her damsels for my lord's sword to slay him. The damsel obeyed, but went instead to Prince Uwaine, who told her to obey Morgana, or else she would be killed as well. As Morgana raised the sword to kill Euryance, Uwaine grabbed her arm and said if she were not his mother, he would kill her right then and there. Morgana told him the devil had tempted her, and Uwaine told her to vow upon the Holy Sacrament never to attempt such a deed again, and to this oath Morgana pledged herself. A little while later, one of the damsels came to tell Morgana that Accolon was slain, and King Arthur was resting at the abbey in the forest. She set out with her damsels and men-at-arms to the court, but told Queen Guinevere that she was going riding in the forest. On her way, Morgana Le Fay came to the abbey and thought that she could at least steal Arthur's sword Excalibur. She was told he was sleeping on his bed and that no one should wake him. She told them that she was his sister and she had come to pray for a speedy recovery for him. They brought Morgana to where he was sleeping, Excalibur in his hand, and the scabbard leaning against a chair on his bedside. Morgana took the scabbard, hid it beneath her cloak, and rode away. Arthur awoke right away and missed his scabbard. He asked who had been there, and was told Morgana Le Fay. Arthur then called for horses, and he and Sir Outlake galloped into the forest after Morgana and her attendants. Arthur and Outlake saw the party, and the chase became furious. Morgana then realized there was no escape, so she rode to a deep lake in the forest and threw the scabbard into the middle of the lake, and it sunk. Morgana's party then went to a valley filled with giant stones, and her magic turned everyone into stone, so Arthur couldn't find them. And he didn't, so he rode back to Camelot, and Guinevere told him to pardon Morgana, for she would never strive to hurt him again, for she sent a mantle, and whoever wears it shall never suffer pain any more. King Arthur was happy to take the mantle, but then Lady Mew stopped him, and told him to put it on a damsel instead. So he did, and then the damsel proceeded to burst into a pile of smoldering ashes. After this, Queen Morgana Le Fay never dared enter the realm of Logres again. She went to her own castle in the land of Gore and fortified it strongly.